What's up, guys? I'm BTC. Welcome back to the Respawn, a weekly series where I answer your questions. Today's video is brought to you by me. I made a new channel called Clipcoin. I'm going to cover movies, TV shows, books, video game trailers, other pop culture, all that kind of cool stuff. I've been wanting to have a channel like that for years. I already have my first video up on it. It's about Netflix's Castlevania. I've gotten tons of positive feedback from the guys that have already checked out the video. I passed 1,000 subscribers on that new channel last night. I sincerely appreciate all the feedback and all the support you guys have been giving. If you haven't checked it out, go and look at the link in the description of this video. It'll take you right to that channel, and make sure you subscribe and drop a like on that new video as well. Also, I made a video the other day announcing that I was giving away the Nintendo Switch, but for whatever reason, it didn't seem to get sent out to all the subscribers. So once again, make sure you hit the bell and turn all those notifications on so that happens. If you want details about the Switch giveaway, check out my Discord. Heads up, it's US only. Sorry, just the laws. I can't do anything about it. And with all that out of the way, let's get to your questions. First up, could the old shield generator make a return in the form of a drone that applies shield? That is a very decent possibility. I don't know if it would ever happen for Symmetra. Maybe another Vishkar character could certainly do it. Maybe like Sanjay or anyone else, right? But I don't think it would really work on a DPS or even a support character. The shields are more like damage mitigation. It adds a little bit of an extra buffer to your character. And that's kind of what tanks do, right? Like, they provide damage mitigation to your character. And yes, you do get some amount of healing, sort of, from the shielding effect, but that only happens when you're not in combat anymore. So it's not really like you're getting healed during the fight, you just have that extra buffer, and again, I think that feels more at home with a tank. So I think if we were to get a Vishkar tank, that might be something that could definitely work. Or maybe if they decide to rework Symmetra for the 148th time, they could put her into the tank role and give her the shield generator back in some different form. Next up, why do you think Roadhog hooks are inescapable even by a Reaper or Moira? That's because in addition to moving you, it also applies a stun during that duration. And that's why Reaper and Moira can't activate their abilities, because they're stunned. It's the same as if you get hit by the stun from Reinhardt. You're on the ground and you have to wait until your character recovers before you can use those abilities. Now, interesting, they did change this for Moira on the PTR for a short amount of time. It never got pushed to the live version of the game, but it allowed Moira to activate her Fade at any time during any crowd control ability at all. So one of the things that you could do is you could actually wait for the Roadhog to hit you with the hook and then fade, and it would actually break free of it. You didn't have to try to bait it out or, you know, avoid it or anything like that. You would just wait. Like, you could even just stand in the open and allow the Roadhog to hit you with the hook in order to waste his cooldown and then just fade out of it. So they ended up deciding that it was way too powerful, which it was, and they didn't put it in the game. But that's why you can't use those kinds of abilities while you're hooked, because it also applies a stun. Next up, if Mei was moved to the tank role, would her hitbox be too small? That's a good point, because some of the characters do have very large hitboxes like D.Va, Winston, Hammond, but others have smaller hitboxes. Zarya, for example, is much smaller of a hitbox than the other characters in that role, so I don't think having the smaller hitbox is necessarily going to completely disqualify Mei from being moved into the tank category, although maybe she doesn't get as much health. Instead of having 400, maybe she only has 350 or something like that. But there are other ways that they could work around it. They could just make Mei's hitbox larger. Now, I'm not saying that they need to supersize Mei or anything like that, make her giant, but they could add extra stuff to her suit and to her backpack, things like that, that would just kind of buff out, fill out that sort of hitbox that she has. You know, she doesn't need to go to the gym and start getting super swole or nothing like that in order to get really big, but they could do other things in order to make her hitbox a little bit bigger while not affecting the size of the actual character of Mei. You know what I mean? So I think that it's a good point to bring up, but there are workarounds to it. Next up, would a character whose entire kit is based around one resource pool work? Yes. I think it definitely will. I have some of my own ideas for this. I don't want to give too much away right now, but I think you could definitely do that. And when we're talking about a resource pool, we're referring to things like the fuel meter on Bastion or defense matrix meter, Moira's healing meter, that sort of stuff. where all of the abilities are kind of tied to that 1 meter. Could you do that? Yes, I think you definitely could. And like I said, I have some ideas. What heroes are in the meta right now? Well, for both upper and lower bracket, it seems that Reinhardt, Zarya, D.Va, Ana, McCree are doing pretty good. Also, I would include Hanzo and Mei. Even though they're banned right now, as soon as they're available, they'll be right back in it. So those are the characters that I think are probably doing the best in the current situation. Could a break the object goal work as a competitive game mode? Yes, but it's a little tricky, because you have characters like Pharah and Widow and Hanzo who could attack from very, very long range and still do full damage. So you would have to either place it so that it's behind walls or in a room or something, or maybe there's some sort of weird force field that just makes it so that it doesn't take damage after a certain distance or something like that. I mean, you could do it, and it would probably be pretty neat. You might even be able to attach it to one of the existing game modes. I do have an idea for that, but I want to kind of explore it a little bit more before I go into too much detail. I think it could work, but again, it's a little on the tricky side, because you do have to worry about some of those long-range type attacks. Do you think if they got rid of Sigma's shield and buffed his kinetic grasp, he would be balanced? Not if you only buffed his kinetic grasp. The shield is a very important part of his kit. If you got rid of it, you would have to make pretty substantial changes to the rest of his abilities. You'd have to look at his health, his damage, the accretion. Yeah, you'd have to definitely buff the kinetic grasp because it's his only defensive tool now, but I don't think just lowering a cooldown or anything like that is going to be enough. Like, you would have to make pretty big changes to just get rid of the shield. Now, having said all that, I do believe that Blizzard should focus on one or the other of his defensive abilities, and as I've said many times in the past, I think that Sigma can just do too much, which is why he's kind of a problem. They just have to nerf everything again and again. If he was a little bit more specialized, then I think it would be easier to make him an effective character, because right now, he's been nerfed so much, his pick rate is like one of the lowest in the game. So what they're doing currently isn't working, but if they did get rid of either the shield or the kinetic grasp, they would have to make some pretty big changes to the rest of it as well. Would an ability like Crossfade that deals low damage work? On Lucio, absolutely not. On a DPS character, maybe. If it's a passive, or if it's something that's almost always on, then it would have to be very, very, very low damage. However, another option would be to just have an area effect damage ability that you turn on for a certain amount of time, and maybe it uses a fuel gauge, like you can turn it on like Defense Matrix, right? And you just activate it, you hold down the button, it deals damage to everything within 3 to 4 meters or something like that, and then, you know, the gauge runs out and that's it, and then you have to wait for it to come back. You could do that for sure. That might even work pretty well with something that's maybe like fire-based, right? It would kind of go along with it. But you could also have it so that it's on a cooldown, where you just press the button, it activates, and then for the next, let's say, 3 seconds or so, everything within a certain distance takes X amount of damage. There are a lot of ways that you could get an area effect, crossfade type damage ability to work, but essentially, the more uptime it has, the lower the damage it does. It's basically the rule. Here's a juicy one. Do you think the devs know the game isn't as popular as it used to be? I really hope so. I mean, I don't think that the game has just completely tanked or anything like that, and I hope that the devs aren't deluding themselves and they're not overvaluing or miscalculating the popularity of the game. But then again, Blizzard, do you have phones? I don't know. They're putting a lot of effort into the Overwatch League, and I don't think that's doing as good as they would hope that it would have. And the content drought has been pretty significant. I mean, we've gotten new features, but those new features aren't really going to be super exciting to potential new players, right? Like, nobody's looking at Overwatch going, oh man, they just added roll queue, I'm gonna go and try it out. It's more like, oh, they just added a new hero, a new character, this looks cool, I want to go and check that out. But we haven't gotten anything new since Sigma. We haven't gotten any new maps in quite a while. All of the different events that we get are just recycled year after year after year, and existing players are getting sick of it. I hope they're not overvaluing it. I think what they're doing is they're trying to use the Overwatch League to generate excitement, and that's not really working all that well. And I think that they're putting a lot of hopes in Overwatch 2. But Overwatch 2 is not a competitive thing. It's casual, it's cooperative, it's PvE, it's not PvP. So I think it will appeal to a different kind of player than what they currently have, or maybe what, you know, they're trying to get with the like, for example, Overwatch 2 has absolutely no overlap at all with the Overwatch League. It's a competitive game mode for the Overwatch League versus PvE in Overwatch 2. There's nobody that's going to get Overwatch 2 and say, oh man, I wish I could watch the pros play this competitively. It's just not the case. So, I don't know. Are they misjudging it? I hope not. I hope not. That is going to be all the questions for this week. Thank you to everyone who submitted one. There is a new question card that's already been posted in the community section of my YouTube channel. And also, please go and check out the new channel that I made, Clipcoin. A link for the first video on that channel is down in the description. It's about Netflix Castlevania. Make sure you drop a like on it and subscribe to that new channel because I got lots more awesome content coming. And again, thank you guys for all the support. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell to get notified. You can get some cool gear, join my Discord server, or follow me on social media with the links down in the description below. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters, and remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault.